So, I toured for many years with Ringo, and I toured for many of my bands, with the Monkees or my British Rock Symphony. I was always on the road, but one event happened when I was on my first tour with Ringo and the All Star Band. Um, After the fourth show, people, first of all, people couldn't believe you'd put a tour like that together. How are you going to get all these A-listers to go on tour? And it's one thing if you do a one-nighter for Live Aid and do a charity benefit, but to put them on the road together, all those egos, how's it going to work? And so I got nervous, as well as everybody kept scaring me. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And after the fourth show, I was sitting at the Garden State Arts Center in the backstage area, and Nils Lofgren walks by and he says, "Fishof, I'm out of here. I can't do this tour." And I said, "Oh no, I mortgaged my house to put up the deposit." And then all of a sudden, Clarence Clemens, a minute later, he comes to my right. He says, "Fishof, I'm out of here. I'm quitting too. It's not going to work." And I said, "Well, go find Ringo. It's his band." And they couldn't find him anywhere. And then the security guard said, "You better go down there having a fight. Joe Walsh and Levon Helm. Joe's got a knife and blood, and Levon Helm's got a broken glass bottle and blood. And you better go in there and break this fight up." So I went in there in the dressing room, and I start seeing these two guys going at each other. And I start yelling, "Are you guys a bunch of babies?" I just freaked out. And I try to get in the middle there and try to break it up. And all of a sudden, Levon takes the glass bottle and throws it over Joe's head, and more blood comes out. And then they both turned around and they stuck their tongues out at me. They had gotten fake blood. They got a glass bottle made out of sugar, and they just pulled such a stunt. And it's in the movie, and you see it in the movie, and it's really happened in the Ringo dressing room. So when I came back out of that, I said to myself, these guys have so much fun. How cool would it be to give people the experience to tour and to be on the road with a bunch of great rock stars who be creative? And that's when I got the idea of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Now, it's been 25 years later, and it's been amazing. And now 26 years, really, to see how much the rock stars love Rock Camp as much as the guests who come.
So it really was. So after all said and done, it wasn't ego. They're playing a joke on you, obviously, but you found a way to kind of control these egos throughout all these years to put these people together in a room. And you probably found out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably found out that successful people actually like to learn from other successful people.
Listen, Tony Robbins said it. Dick Clark told me years ago. He said, "David, to be successful, you got to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you." And Tony Robbins said, "You want to do something? Immerse yourself in it. Immerse yourself in it." So Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, you want to be a musician? You want to do it as fun? You want to be a vocalist? I'm not telling you to go up there and be a rock star. I don't promise that. But if you want to do that, immerse yourself. Go to a camp for 4 days and get that experience, and surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So I'm a big believer of that.
And so I want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into your past, because I want our audience to get to know you as a person.
Sure.
Where were you born, and what was your childhood like growing up?
So I was basically raised in Hackensack, New Jersey. My dad was a cantor. My mom was a school teacher. My dad was a survivor of the Holocaust. He survived Auschwitz and Buchenwald. He lived quite an interesting life during the war. He made false passports. He was living as a non-Jew. And it's documented in a book called The Yellow Star. And then he gets caught in giving a passport on the streets in Hungary. They ship him off to Auschwitz, and he meets 5 of his dear friends that came from the city. They were from this town called Bratislava. And they go through the camps together. And the book, The Yellow Star, basically tells the story of these 5 guys together. So I learned growing up everyday survival. My dad talked about it. A lot of Holocaust survivors didn't talk to the kids about it. My dad spoke about it every day. I came home from school every day, and there was a half a piece of bread in the refrigerator, half a piece of toast. And I once asked my dad, what's this half a piece of bread for? And my dad said, I ate 1.5 pieces of bread every breakfast, but I know my next meal was. So I saved that as my next meal. And being a survivor's kid, you learn a lot of good and you learn a lot of bad, but you really learn to survive. And so luckily I had my dad. He lived on a quarter of a kidney. He got beaten so badly by the Nazis, but he taught me a lot. He lived to 82, so that was my childhood. It was a happy childhood. My dad never got aggravated. My mom, they were in love for 52 years. My dad could say, there's nothing you could do to aggravate me because I saw it all. So I had a good childhood and really supportive. But in the end, as you see in the movie, I wanted to be a musician. My brother was a drummer. He got all the girls. And as many of these rock stars will tell you, from Bret Michaels said at a rock camp, you want to get the girls, you got to learn to play guitar. And so many rockers have told me that. So I wanted to be in the band, but I wasn't good enough. So that's
and
what my dad
so
said to me.
what were you like though as a kid? I mean, you had a pretty good childhood. You grew up.
I was a go-getter.
Okay. Were you middle class, higher class, lower class?
Oh no, we were definitely middle class, definitely lower middle class. But
Okay.
I was selling candies. I was selling the cards. On the back of the comic books, they had those, selling Christmas cards, and I was selling cards. I was selling stationery. I was selling raffle tickets. I was always selling. I made a newspaper when I was in, I think, first grade, where I used to get the Sunday newspaper, and I would get the Sunday newspaper, and I'd write the headlines of myself by hand, and on like 7 pieces of paper. Remember, in between we had we didn't have photos. We had like that paper, that copy paper, that you would write and it would appear. And I'd sell it in my building, my apartment building. So yeah, I was always selling. I was always being entrepreneurial. I have a teenage son now. He's selling baseball cards. I love it. He's waiting for sneakers to come up to buy the best sneakers that he can go resell 5 minutes later. I think it's great for kids to be doing that. It gives them the entrepreneurship to want to do something. Very hard in today's society because you're competing with TikTok, you're competing with all these games, Fortnite, everything like that. And the problem is parents give their kids everything, so there's no motivation for them. But I think to stimulate them, I love seeing my kids, get jobs as teenagers, running youth groups, and I think it's really important.
So now, were your parents musicians or anything? I mean, did you what was that? Where'd that spark come from?
Okay,
though? Like,
so my dad was a cantor.
Besides the girls,
right? No. My dad was a cantor, so he's around music. It was my brother Joey. He loved the Beach Boys. He saw Ringo play drums on the Ed Sullivan Show, and he swore he's going to become a drummer. My brother went to Woodstock. Yeah, it was really my brother because he was really around, Jack Bruce. I remember picking up Ginger Baker for the airport, and I said, Ginger, 2 things I heard in my house: God and Ginger Baker. My father talked about God, and my brother talked about Ginger Baker. So definitely my brother. The influence. I wasn't even into the musicians at all. I was a sports guy, and that's why I became a sports agent first.
Okay, so how did that happen? Where did that?
So
I was transpire?
I was booking acts in the Catskill Mountains, and if you see the movie Dirty Dancing, it's all true. I was booking, bands up in the Catskills, and then from there, I still became I was writing for a newspaper. I interviewed a couple of ball players. I met some players, and I started booking them. Can I book you on appearances? And back then, when I started, there weren't a lot of agents, and so most of these players didn't have agents. So I said, I'll represent you. I'll negotiate your contracts. And there were a bunch of agents there, but they weren't good. And once I started doing good for one, I picked up another one and another client. And, they talk in the locker room. So, eventually I had 3 of the Angels. I had 8 of the New York Giants. And I started building up a nice practice. And I loved it. I loved working with the guys and really helping them get their contracts, get their life together, and I wasn't investing their money, but I would tell them, hey, put away, it's going to end. It's going to end. Buy an annuity, buy something that you're going to see income later on. Don't risk your money. And it's a short period that you have 4.5 years as an NFL player. Bank it. And today I'm close with a lot of them because they listen to me and they get, I had one client call me up about 10 years ago and said, "Hey, David, I got a check in the mail for $25,000. What's it for?" I said, "You're going to get a check for the next 30 years every month because you set an annuity." He totally forgot about it. So I was really, that to me, that was really important. But it got boring. Why did it get boring? It got boring because it was about show me the money. And I was sharing office space with some great music managers, and I wanted to be creative. And it's hard when you represent ball players, honestly, you have to negotiate their contract, but creativity, you can't do much because the team owns them. So I wanted to own my own projects. I wanted to be like the team owner, and I was able to get that opportunity when I put together the Monkeys. I put together Happy Together tours and Dirty Dancing and Ringo. It was just more fun for me. So I eventually, moved more into the music business.
Thank you for watching our short clips on Alonzo Academy. If you'd like to watch the next short clip, click here. If you'd like to watch the entire podcast, click here.